In this video, we'll be concerned with stages of learning. The process of learning is natural for human behavior. In fact, it's vital for human development. If we didn't learn, we would still probably be living in caves. We probably wouldn't even be living in caves. We wouldn't have got that far. We have only got to where we are now because we are learning creatures. We learn. We learn from our experiences, and we learn from received wisdom, what people have written down and passed down to us through the years. And we are, in turn, adding to what we know. We live in a very sophisticated society. We're adding new developments, innovations, changes, discoveries all the time. So the world is becoming increasingly complex. We learn in order to survive, and we have different reasons to learn. At work, we learn to develop in order to meet the challenges of new work routines and organizational change. So it's certainly the case that we have to learn new skills at work if we're going to keep up with what is required of us. If we don't learn the new skills, we'll fall behind progressively, and eventually we will be unemployable. However, generally speaking, we learn beyond the needs of basic survival. We tend to learn things that are over and above what's absolutely necessary. We understand things about the world which we will never be examined on and which we will probably never use. But we understand them because it's nice to know. Individual differences and social and cultural pressures lead us to knowing extra. We vary in what we're interested in, and what we're interested in we learn about, and we understand, and we want to keep up with that. It's our interest, it's our hobby, it's our particular focus. But we also want recognition and status. We want to be understood to have a particular interest and a particular expertise. It may be related to work, or it may be something outside of work that we are known to be good at. And we like the idea of that. We enjoy a particular status as a consequence. Now, why people learn? Well, individuals have different reasons to learn. For a start, there's the achievement. Success from learning is seen as a reward. We achieve something. So we feel good inside because we've achieved it. We've set ourselves a target and we've achieved the target. We understand something we didn't understand before. We also study because of anxiety. We don't want to fail. We don't want to be seen as failures in life. We don't want people to look down on us, and we don't want to be left behind. So we learn to keep up. Sometimes we learn for approval. We gain the approval of social circles and family and peers and colleagues and teachers and such. We want people to say, well done, you've done really well. We want people's approval. So we learn in order to get their approval. It's also the case we learn because of curiosity. It's human nature to be curious, and we want to explore situations or environments that are unknown. That's what drives us. That's why the Americans send people to the moon. We want to know if we can do it. We want to know what's there. We want to know the challenges. We have space programs probing planets that we'll never visit because of distances, the chances are. So, but why do we do it? Because we're a curious species. We want to learn. Not just about space, but we want to learn about medicine. We want to learn about all aspects of technology and issues that impinge upon us every day. But we also want to learn about how it works and what developments and how we can use it more effectively and how we can innovate. We're just curious people. We want to learn things. We also have an acquisitiveness. We like asking questions, and we like understanding, because When we see something, we ask why and how does it work and what will it do? What makes it run? Somehow these questions seem to be natural to the human condition. We are inquisitive. We want to know about things. And that's why we learn. So we have 5 possible sources of why we learn. Now the ways of learning, well, Truelove in 1998 explains that there are 4 ways that people can learn. We can learn by trial and error, we can learn by attempting to do something and see if it works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't work, why didn't it work? If it did work, let's do it that way again. It's trial and error. We're just trying out to see if we can find a solution. We have a problem, we try different ways of trying to solve it. Sometimes we're told how to do it. We can learn by being told. The teacher tells us how to do things and we do it. And it works because we were told how to do it. We didn't figure it out for ourselves. We were told how to do it. We could also do it by imitation. We watch others and see how they do things and we copy them. We learn by imitation. It worked for them, so it'll work for us. We can also learn by thinking, by just studying the situation, studying the problem, thinking about solutions, running it across our minds, thinking about it, coming back to it, think again, and trying out different solutions. We do this in mathematics or in science at school. We have a problem, we think about it. We think about the solution to see if we can solve it. We're using our brain instead of our brawn. We're not using our muscles in our arms or legs. We're using, if you like, the muscle of our brain to try and solve the problem. Now, trial and error, well, it's common basis for learning. We adopt this approach or way of doing. If the approach succeeds, we continue using the approach. Trial and error is well established. We do it a lot. We tried it when we were children and it worked. We tried different solutions, different ways until we find the one that does work for us. Trial and error. If it fails and we go out in reach for a different approach, we continue to search until we find the approach that works. So sometimes if we have a problem, we use trial and error and our efforts fail, we just go off and look for different solutions. We keep on trying until we find one that does work. It's an effective way of learning as we are applying our experiences and making judgments about our perceptions. So it's not to be looked down upon. We are learning from the experience. And the next time we'd encounter something similar, we'd have a better approach to solving the problem. We're gaining experiences. Now, being told, well, this is a learning approach that's commonly used in aiding learning. We're told in words or in instructions how to do something. We learn from the teacher, we learn from the instructor. And it can take place in a number of ways. We can attend lectures or seminars or go to classes. We can watch videos. We can listen to instructions on the radio. We can read in books. We can talk to people who have some expertise in the area and they will tell us what to do. So there are different sources of information that we can tap into. Being told is only appropriate if the objective is to gain knowledge. For example, learning about a theory or a concept, we're told how to do it. If we're trying to do a practical problem, being told can be a problem in itself. Generally speaking, if we have a practical problem, we like people to demonstrate the solution so we can see how it works out when it's been demonstrated, when it's been fixed in practice. So being told is particularly useful if we have, if you like, an abstract problem that we're trying to solve. If it's a very practical problem, by and large, the best way to do it is to demonstrate the problem and demonstrate the solution. If we're dealing with practical experience, then being told needs to be incorporated with trial and error. If it is a practical problem, we can be told about different approaches to use and what is likely to work best. But really, we're back to trial and error to see if what we were told actually works. And as I said, probably the best approach, if it is practical, is to have a demonstration. Thinking as an approach to learning provides a foundation for other approaches to develop. For example, trial and error, being told, imitation, all require thinking to some degree. We all start by thinking. It's one of the big faculties we've got as human beings. We can think. We can take a problem and think about the problem, think about solutions, and then we try to find the most appropriate way forward. Having thought about it, we start by thinking. Having thought about it, we can then engage in trial and error, and we can ask expertise from people who've encountered the problem before, but it's all based on our thinking to make sure we understand what the problem is and what the solutions are. For thinking to be effective, we should have a clear learning objective. We need to know what we intend to achieve and what is the objective. So when we think about a problem, we need to know what we want to understand, what the problem is. We need to have a clear specification of the problem, and we can think about it. We can also ask questions from experts. We can watch videos, we can learn from different sources. But we need to know what we're trying to solve. We need to have a clear picture of the problem. Having thought about a problem and having found a solution, and let's say it's a practical one, so we've thought about it, we've now fixed this practical problem because we've thought about the solution and it works, let's say. Now we can go away and reflect upon it. We can see it working, we can think, why did it work, how did that happen? And we're making sense of the experience, and we're integrating new knowledge. Perhaps we encountered slight variations in the solution. We're allowing for this. Our knowledge has grown because we've had more experience. And that's the nature of thinking. Now, the stages of learning. The stages of learning implies that learners are unaware of their skills or learning capabilities. So there are stages that learners go through, and sometimes we're not fully aware of our skills or our learning capabilities. We just go through the various stages of learning. The realization of not knowing provides the motivation that we want to learn and acquire skills or a piece of information. We have to know that we don't know. We have to confront the problem and think, we don't understand the problem, we don't understand how to even solve this problem. And that could be the first stage of learning. Because now we've recognized, if you like, an inadequacy in terms of the problem that we're facing. We are inadequate in terms of the problem. We can't solve the problem. But at least we know there's a problem, and at least we know we can't solve it, at least in our current state. So we have to learn. When individuals become aware of their incompetence, they embark on a journey to consciously learn the skills. Eventually they will overcome, they become confident, I should say, with skills, and they eventually, unconsciously, utilize the skills. So we start from a situation of people not being able to do something. They face a problem, they can't deal with the problem, they can't perhaps even fully understand the problem. But at least they understand there is a problem, and they understand that they can't handle it. This may be the spark that is required to set off the learning journey. So now they start to learn, they start to acquire knowledge, they start to ask questions, they gradually start to piece it all together. And eventually, hopefully, they will solve the problem. And in so doing, they have become competent. They have increased their skill set. They're now able to do something that they couldn't do before. And later on, they'll be so familiar with it that they're able to apply these skills without thinking much. It's unconsciously applied. There is a problem. Oh, we recognize the problem. We can solve the problem, and it's not a big task. They have learned to cope with it. It's now become almost trivial to them. They have thought about it. They've reflected upon it. It now becomes a part of them, the solution. The model consists of 4 stages. Unconscious incompetence. You're unaware of what you don't know. You're unconscious. You don't know that you're incompetent. You simply are quite happy as you are. You don't know that you can't do certain things because you haven't confronted those things, so you don't know about them. Through experience, you continue using your skills to achieve or accomplish a task. So you use whatever skills you've got to continue living as you do. So you haven't encountered a problem, so you're unconscious. You're not conscious of the problem. You're not conscious of your incompetence, the fact that you can't deal with this problem because you haven't encountered the problem. But that's one way of going through life. And I suppose to some extent we all do this. We all are incompetent because we haven't encountered the problems. We can't encounter all the problems in the world. And there are many problems that I know of that I am certainly incompetent of dealing with. In medicine, for example, I don't have an expertise in that area. I know there are many problems, but I know I'm incompetent. Next we have conscious incompetence. You become aware that you don't know something. This could be through feedback from individuals as a result of your behavior or the realization that something is missing from your learning needs. Now sometimes people would expect us to be able to do something and we can't do it. And they make us aware, why can't you do this? This is a straightforward task. Why can't you do it? Well, we can't do it because I'm incompetent. But now I know I'm incompetent. And now I know that I need to improve my skill set to be able to solve this problem because this is something I should be able to do. So I'm consciously incompetent. In other words, I can't do it, but I know I can't do it. But now I need to fix that. I need to learn how to do it. Then we go to consciously competent. You now take the initiative to learn and acquire a certain skill or knowledge. This learning can take place through research, practice, observation. You are aware that you were incompetent before. Now you're taking measures to fix it, so you become consciously competent. You have deliberately set out to acquire those skills. You consciously acquired the skills. You consciously became competent in that area. And then we move to unconscious competence. You're now fully aware of the learning experience or skills. You internalize the knowledge, and this information becomes, if you like, unconscious. The next time we meet this problem, we don't have to think about it. It's a part of us. We've already dealt with it. We've internalized it. We have competence. We don't have to go back and look at the instruction book every time. We know how to deal with the problem. We can deal with it unconsciously. We don't have to think about it too much. It's something we can deal with easily. We have the skills. So it all starts with, first of all, unconscious incompetence. We don't know. We don't know. We're unaware of what we don't know. We simply don't know. Then we become conscious of what we don't know. It's pointed out to us that we should know this perhaps. This is something we could deal with and we can't deal with it. There's something wrong. We're conscious now that we're not capable. Then we become conscious. We're able to deal with it now. We've learned, we've picked up the skills and we're conscious that we can deal with it. We know that we can deal with those problems. It's in the front of our head. We've just learned those skills and we're quite happy. And then it moves to unconscious competence, which means we're so confident about our ability to do this, we don't have to think about it. Here are some references that have been, or a reference that has been used throughout the course of this talk. And that's all I'm going to deal with in this session. These are the various stages of learning. And let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.